All right, all praise to the Most High Yahweh and to His Son, my brother, Amashiach Yahushai. Peace and blessings to my brothers and sisters from the Israelite tribes. All right, in this video, we're going to get into, just haplogroup information dealing with haplogroups in Africa and haplogroups in the Americas. So we're going to be looking at this chart format and a notepad format of information that I collected about DNA. And let's get into the information. So what we are looking at is all these haplogroups of Africa. The top column is dealing with the haplogroups. The down columns are dealing with the ethnic groups and the languages. The other columns going down are dealing with numbers and percentages and so on. And then at the end, you have the reference, the professors, the project groups, or the lab sites of all this information. So let's get into the details. So Y DNA is dealing with Hamitic people. All these are Y DNA paternal groups. So we are dealing with, the lineage, not the autosomal or admixtures, which most people tend to do over and over on YouTube and on TikTok. And I tend to question, them. I'm always like, do any of y'all have like paternal information or maternal lineage information? Either one would do. If not, those admixtures are not the whole story. They're like a small percentage of the story, and it's really telling a time travel, not so much of mixtures of people groups that you're collecting along the way. So that's the most interesting thing that I've been learning about DNA in general. So like I was saying before, AY-DNA and BY-DNA are dealing with Hamitic groups of people. E1A is a Shemitic group dealing with the Shemitic Ishmaelites. E1B1A is dealing with your Hebrew Israelites. E1B1B is dealing with your Shemitic Edomites. E2 will be your Shemitic Midianites. J, R1B, and T would be dealing with your Japhetic groups of people. So let's get into this information. Let's see, any notation. So we could make several notation real quick. So R1B is dealing with interesting people groupings. So Japhetic people, these three groups of people are dealing with Japhetic people. Now, Japhetic people have the ability to have different types of complexions. And not just that, but it would vary from people group to people group, from family to family. And that's the most interesting thing about Japhetic people, because we tend to go, all these people are just white people. But in reality, when you start to look at DNA and look at these people groups, you start to see dark complexion people and you go, well, these are very dark people. It'll take a while for whoever trying to mix with Hamitic groups of people or Shemitic groups of people that are dark to, darken themselves into a whole nother race of people. So the interesting thing is, um, they've been telling us lies about white people. So in reality, there's two different groups of white people. There's a Shemitic group of Edomites. A small percentage of that group are pale complexion people, and then you have another percentage of white people of a bigger group of Japhetic people that are a small grouping of white people. When Japhetic people are comprised of people from Europe and Asia in the Americas. So you have a big grouping of people with varied degrees of complexion types. So history been trying to fit these two different groups of white people into parts of history to where they can make these people look old, and that's almost impossible with DNA. With this information, we could easily spot the lie and the cover up. So many people tend to not agree with DNA information because they tend to look at YouTube videos of admixture results, and admixture results are not what everybody think they are looking at. It's not a broke down version of how many percentage of blood drops of another ethnic group compiled through history that you're carrying. It's not that at all. So it's different. It's different than that. So uh this J group is dealing with different complexion types of European people. So you have your pale complexion, you have your tan complexion, and you could have a possibility of dark complexion people in that group. R1B, this grouping would be dealing with the similar setup with people complexion, but mostly these are dark complexion people. And that's the interesting thing. And then T is dealing with another interesting Japhetic group of people. So T is a close grouping of K and SM and T. So all these groupings of people are the same people. So Japhetic markers start from G and they go all the way to T. So what they did, they reversed the order of people to where all the pale complexion people came first in the order, and then all the dark complexion and various types of complexion people would be later. The interesting thing is, the other most pale group of people are I and O. These are dealing with, your Scandinavian people with I, and then your O is dealing with your Asian group of people in either mainland China or in Japan and other regions of the Pacific. So these are pale complexion people, and these are people that all are the same. So the interesting thing is they group together because most of these people are closely supposedly be pale complexion. So you have G, H, I, and J all in the same group. And then K is supposed to be one of the original groupings of Greek people. And K is a dark complexion group of people with blonde hair in the Pacific Island. So you have K, S, and M, and T being the same groupings of people. The interesting thing is T tends to be pale complexion. So this is the most interesting groupings of people that we'll see in general. And I like to call Japhet the imitation race because they tend to imitate a lot of Shemitic groups of people, a lot of Hamitic people in different regions, and people tend to think these people are native people or a subclade of the native people, and they're not. These are just Japhetic people. So let's get into the demographics or the ethnic groups. So these are the language groups. So these are the most interesting titles and layered definition or terms to like hide people identity and so on. So the controversy in general, from African American people to different ethnic groups in Africa, we all know, oh, we all should know that Bantu is just an overall classification of a language type that's dealing with a people type. So yes, it could be a representation of people in a language. I could have sworn Bantu was just a reference point or a term dealing with the word human. So Bantu just mean human from what I thought I heard. And then you have the Awak classification of people dealing with the Native American groupings of people and their languages. So Awak is the same thing. It's just an overall classification, but nobody speak the overall content of that language. They speak a dialect. The same thing with Bantu. People speak dialects of those of that language. Like the Ghana people, they speak Twi. They don't speak Bantu, but the classification types are under Bantu. So the irony is, you have that set up for the people groupings that are very similar in cultural tongues or language, and then you have Afro-Asiatic, Neolithic, and Shemitic. So, in other words, these same groupings of people are purposely labeled in a way to where it's about confusion. So I understand everybody argument and controversy with Bantu, with the whole thing of Bantu Israelites or Bantu people, when again there's ethnic people groups and tribes that we could easily go by, but it's just a reference point of saying a group of people while going into ethnic groups of people and tribes. So a majority of Bantu people would be dealing with Hebrew Israelite stock. Now another percentage of that would be dealing with other people groups. But other than that, it's a strong majority. So the other thing is there's some irony in this format, because like when we go into the terminology of now elected is just dealing with people of the now, and Hebrew Israelites are now people. We are Great Lakes, Nile Valley, Levant people, and everybody go. All these terms are, man-made terms in places and so on. But at the same time, these same people that are Bantu people, we can identify with the same groupings. We can identify as well as Shemitic people, as well as Bantu people. So there been a agenda even in the format of DNA. When you start to get into the DNA format and they start to break down the methods of classifying people to get a certain amount of information before they hit the sequence numbers of all these DNA pools, they want to, get as much information about the original diet and the language. And so these terms, we tend to hold on to these terminologies to where we can't make it flexible, because African American, for example, is a representation of a small portion of people that are ADOS, people that are from African descendants of slaves. Another portion is dealing with Black Americans or Native Americans that are dark complexion people that tend to get classified as African American, and it's often due to what DNA companies say and due to government think tanks are saying. But the truth is, you have a big amount of R1B people in the Americas or in North America that are Native American people that are dark complexion people, but they are classifying those people as African Americans when they are nowhere close to African American. These are people that are closely related to Western European people, So, I'm sorry about that rant, but I just wanted to get that out the way. And so, and on this chart, so you see this Asiatic, this Afro-Asiatic. So you see it AA, and then you see them double up on it as Semitic Asiatic or Afro-Asiatic. And then you see them going Cushitic Afro-Asiatic. So these are the tricks that they are trying to play on us when we are trying to get into that high level of thinking and understanding DNA. And a lot of time it's just, we just have to be flexible with understanding that a lot of these people groups are split groups of people, especially when you get into the DNA dealing with the Hebrew Israelites. Our people are scattered people among different groups of people everywhere. And so we just have to be mindful that this is another representation of that and other things that they are trying to either explain or hide from us in plain sight. So let's get into this information. So Afro-Asian-added people are really dealing with um, a combination of um, Edomites and Japhetic people. As you can see in this information, so these are the people that tend to had created the latest grouping of white people on the planet. So you have pale complexion groups of people in Greece and Albania that are Edomite people. And these people are coming from these people. So you have dark complexion people becoming pale complexion people. And in the mtDNA setup, you have a lot of information dealing with who exactly did Edom mix with to become pale complexion. And you can see it on the Y DNA side, and then on the maternal DNA side, you see H and HV all the time with the split information of famous so-called white people. When you see E1B1A, or I mean Salakia, E1B1B, and then you see H or HV for these pale complexion people. And I'm pretty sure they probably knew about some of this information a long time ago for them to be in that format of knowing exactly what Caucasian group of women would mix E1B1B into another grouping of pale complexion people, just like other European Japhetic people. So this group is dealing with a split grouping, like I was saying before. Um, this is interesting information that we tend to not probably hear at all in nobody history book. This is science, and science is saying, okay, let's rewrite history according to facts and truth. Now we go to the lore. So this is a Neolithic group, and this is supposed to be a Midianite group from what, yeah. So as you can see, E2, and you see the percentage. So if we was to see these groups, we'll automatically think they are Hermetic people. But Ham is accounting for 22 of the percent, or 22 of the amount accounted for. So Amora, so these are Edomites, E1B1B, and then the other split of Japhite. So this is the most interesting thing, some East African people are not ashamed of understanding that they are either all the way Edom or mixed with Japhet. And this is something that is interesting because, those groupings of Confederate people against Israel, they had layers of plans in place to cover who they are. And it wasn't just, treaties for trade and for identity theft, but is mixing among themselves and purposely, you know, trying to mix Israel among different people groups. Because when you eventually get a better understanding of DNA information, you'll find out that, a small portion of Edomites in the Berber slave trade and in the Atlantic slave trade, the Edomites and the Ishmaelites was also traded through both trades. So this is the most interesting, crazy thing that I've seen. I've seen, and not just that, but Edomites in Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia, they've been enslaving their own race of people. There are different ethnic groups of people that aren't Hamitic people or that aren't Israelite people. They've been enslaving other clans of people that are closely related to them and putting them through a slave trade during that period, and even up to now. They are, still selling their people. And that was one of those things that a lot of people didn't like about Haile Selassie. Was he was turning his head away from different tribes of people in Ethiopia and the region during slave trade. Still, let's see, Amora people, Bamileke. So this group is E1B1A. This is a Hebrew Israelite group. And so I always thought, this group, and there could be Jews or Judah among this group, but I thought this group of people was Judah. And from what I was hearing from a story from a person that I worked with, he was telling me how self-sustained this group of people were and how wealthy they were. So I was just assuming this was Judah, when most of these groups are split groupings of different Israelite tribes. 2, 3, 4, or more, they are split groupings of Israel, Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom. And that's a beautiful thing. And we shouldn't always constantly look forward to one group of people representing a tribe. It's possible, yes, there are some, but at the same time, it's going to be multiple groups of Israel, if not a split ethnic grouping of Israel tribes with other ethnic groups of Hamitic, Japhetic, and other Shemitic groups of Ishmaelite, Midian, and Edom. And then the other groupings are just dealing with a general population of Bantu people. So we have high percentages of E1B1A And this is what we are just talking about, what I just said before about the language terminology versus other forms of information that we need to understand to better see what I'm talking about and what we need to know going into a deeper understanding of connecting the dots of all these informations and tools that we have nowadays to figure out who people are. So you have, you know, Israelites, and then you have Japhites along with those groups. So these are just dealing with bigger population groupings. They don't go into tribe, ethnic backgrounds. Let's see. So I guess skip over the other Bantu groupings because it's going to be the same split information. Baha, I believe these are dealing with Ethiopian group of people that are the same, Edom, Japhites, and probably Midian. Okay, well, maybe not Midian, but they have Edom and Japhites. So we are constantly seeing those trends, how Psalms 83 is working, and how, Deuteronomy, is working with our people, with us being scattered among all these people from different slave trades. Let's see. Okay. And yes, it was very common practice that a lot of different tribes of people sold each other into slavery. So that's the hardest thing when you go into a detail information into the history of the people groups and stuff. You'll find out that a lot of closely related people within same empires and kingdom structures and cultural structures sold each other to other people groups, and it was a very common thing. So that's what DNA tends to clarify on how of a deeper plague slavery was. So now we move it into the Benin, the Fon. So this is a E1B1A group. This is just and I forgot. Let's see, the Fon people. I wanna. I'm not gonna guess, but yeah, this is one of those groupings of people that would be dealing with one tribe of Israel. So they are a representation of a tribe of Israel, not a split group of Israel tribes. Um, Berbers. Let's take a look. So, the Berber people, the people that tend to get either lost or confused with Arabs in the Middle East, or mislabel altogether. So, um, many people tend to go call the Arab slave trade on Arab people when in reality it's the slave trade of the Edomites, and the Edomites are the Berber people, and the Berber people are these people that had a travel system or a travel network that was caravans of spice traders. So they traded spices from East Africa through North Africa back to West Africa. So these people are your darker complexion to tan complexion Edomite groups of people. And notice the Berber, they tend to, and this would be your Moroccan people, your Morocco-based Maghreb region people type. You have Berbers, the people grouping or the ethnic group, and then you have Berber, the language, and then you have them being also titled as Afro-Asiatic. So let's remember that there's Edomites like Napoleon, Hitler, LBJ. These are pale complexion Edomites, and these are Berbers that are related to those people. So let's look at what they have. So 3 is A, 0 is B, 2 is E1A, 5 is E1B1A, 80 is E1B1B. So this is Edom, and then E2 is nothing, and then you have J6. So let's scroll up to see if this is E1B1B. Yeah. So now we are seeing what we need to see about the lies that they've been telling us about different people. Let's see. Bezakos Allen. Who are these people? Let's see. A, B, E1A. Account of Hebrew Israelite content. Niger Congo. And Niger Congo is another grouping of Bantu classified people as well. Many of these people are very similar, let's see, we'll eventually get further down this chart, and I'll tell you what I think about certain groups that I know are other Shemitic groups, period. But they really this Western European format of classification and terminology, they tend to really lay it on thick, so people would never know. The African American people for years been made fun of for their ethnic group or nationality, not knowing exactly who or what. And now, in these later stages of the end of their of this European society, other people groups are now finding out how it feels to not know exactly who you are. On TikTok, you have so many biracial mixed people on there going crazy because people are making fun of them for cultural appropriation, but they are telling people their background and telling them that they identify with a part of their family or one of their parents when they just don't look like any of their parents probably. And the thing is, this is why the Most High tell us to keep our laws, to separate ourselves, to marry our own people, so our offsprings won't suffer that defeat of this society, saying, we're going to give you not just one label or two labels, we're going to give you several labels, several identities, and you, good luck with you finding out your own history and who you are and where you are going. So, let's see. Burkina Faso. This is an interesting one because I actually know a person from here, and we talk a lot about different things. And if y'all was to see this person, y'all go, "Oh, this is a Hamitic person," but like I was saying, there's classification for Hamitic groups of people that don't tend to associate with the Bantu classification. So yes, there are Hamitic populations in West Africa, but it's not the overwhelming population. These are people that are not native to that region at all, and they moved there because there was a lot of Shemitic groups of people dealing with Israel, Ishmael, and Edom. So let's see what this is about. So A is nothing, B is 0.9, E1A is 3.8, E1B1A is 81.1, E1B1B is 2.8, and then you have Midian 11.3. So he was telling me that his people was the Biza grouping of people, and I think his people group are like cowboys in that regions. So they're big with cattle and other interesting cultural values. The next group, Burung, the Burunj. Let's see. A is nothing, B is 25, E1A is nothing, E1B1A is 4, E1B1B is 33, E2, J, R1B, and T is nothing. And the same with Cameroon. So Cameroon is still in the region of the Biafra, bite. So many of these groupings of people would be split groupings of people, dealing with different Shemitic groups and Japhites. So let's look into that. So as you can see, you got a lot of these groups high with Israel, and then it drops off, and then you have parts of Japhite or Japhet, and then you have parts of Edom and Midian for some parts. So I was looking at the Congo, and you can add the Congo in the same understanding. So Cross River, Nigeria should be E1B1A. Yep. Let's see. Okay, now let's see. Let's do a chat. So in the chat region, Chad is also an interesting country because it also has a R1B group of people. And like I was saying before, you can also find R1B in Western Europe. You also find R1B in North America. And when you see R1B in North America, is dealing with dark complexion Native Americans. But then when you go to R1B groupings in Europe, you tend to see, mostly pale complexion people. But then when you go back to Africa, you tend to say, okay, well, these are R1B people and these are dark complexion people, so what's up? So let's look into this information. So as you can see, R1B and T is dealing with this grouping of people. So and that's in the chat region. So remember, this is chat. So and they go Daza, Chad, Shaharan, North, in this, I don't know what that is. In this, let's see, in this Neo, Saharan. Okay, now we go with Dinka. These are your heavy Hamitic group of people. So you have Ham and Midian in this group. Now this group, this is a interesting group. I remember hearing a Israelite camp talk about this grouping of people, and I couldn't remember if a brother, not a Israelite brother, but I mean, it could possibly be an Israelite brother, but a artist that was associated with a musical talent, a person that was in a group with the this famous artist, said that they was from this group, and the camp expounded on information that they knew about this group, Dogon people, and it was pretty good information. But the thing was, they tied this group to Issachar, when the irony is, a lot of One West camps aren't, big on understanding much about uh, African groups of people. They expounded on this group being Issachar because of their belief in the Sirius star system. So, but other than that, this would be a split group of people of Ishmael and Israel. So, as you can see right here, E1A and E1B1A. Like I was saying before, we have split people groups often among other ethnic groups. Ethiopian, Afro-Asiatic. So when you see this and you see Ethiopian, you could easily assume it's going to be Edom and Japhet, if not just Edom. So we scroll across, and here we go. E1B1B and R1B or J. So R1B would be 0, but J would be 26.9. And the only title that Hamitic people have in general is this Ethiopian Jew title, because Edom took over a lot of that region. So here you are. So you have A 41, B 0, E1A 0, E1B1A 0, and then you have Edom 50. So the Falasha group of people would be like dealing with Hamitic people, and then you have the other people, Edom, sneaking in to build up their population. But like I was saying before, you have Psalms 83 competing against the scatter of Israel and different groups of people. So they really didn't want us to find out who and where people are. So this is why DNA is a thing, it's becoming a thing, and how much of a thing is a cutting tool of needed information to pinpoint correct history. And then we get into the Fulbe. So the Fulbe, the Fulani, the Fula, these are almost similar people groupings of people, and this is where Shemitic groups of people and Japhetic groups of people are in the same area, in the same region. So let's see about these groups. And here we have it. Let's see, you have some information under Ishmael, not much. You have some information under Israel. Then you have some information under Edom. And then you have some under Japhet. Now we go into the fur. let's see. So a lot of these people are tending to be, remnant population due to all these Shemitic groups of people being in the region. So Helm, a lot of people think Helm is like a big people group in Africa. They're not, because of all these other Shemitic and Japhetic groups of people being on the continent. There are dark complexion people. So the Bantu expansion really hurt a lot of Hermetic stock, especially this A grouping of people. Let's see, Ghana, we already know it's going to be E1B1A. I remember doing a video on the meme of somebody saying Denzel is Israel and then Michael Blackson is Helm. I was like, there's a great possibility of both guys being Israel, due to this chart, there's a high percentage of, Israelites in that country, So, let's see what else. Guinea-Bissau. So we have E1B1A being full with a high percentage. Hazza, isolated KS. So you have him with percentages of Israel and Edom. Hausa. Now this is a interesting group of people. They should have like all these boxes because this is a super clan and they tend to have Fula and other groups of people under this title in the Sudan, Chad, Nigeria, and other regions. So I'm surprised to see this like this. So Hima, I want to say this is a E1B1A group. But it's a split. And then the Herero, this is definitely a E1B1A group. These are Namibia people, if I could say the country. Namibia people, there are the people that like to dress with the fancy clothes. So this is dealing with southern parts of Africa, the Hutu. So this is another interesting group because this group is dealing with one grouping of people from Israel. So I don't look at camp videos like I used to, like all the time and daily. I tend to, refresh what I've seen, or I sometimes watch some camp videos for, other understanding, information, precepts and other things that I could do better with understanding. And I heard a brother talk about, you know, um, those regions, and there was an irony. So the same brother was talking about how certain countries in Africa are not Hebrew Israelite based countries when we are actually from the content of those regions to begin with. That's where we get our sources of protein that are unique to that region from. And many people go, Hamites are from Africa, Hamites are from the Nile. You realize that Hamitic people was nomadic people. They wasn't settled in a region from family setting when it was just a limited amount of people in a family structure until there was a bigger group of a family set up until they turned into ethnic groups and nations of people. So the understanding of people not understanding that Israel, the people from the man, were in Israel all that time. We live on the same tectonic plates in Africa that's connected to Israel. And we tend to go, crazy when we reference the Nile Valley, Uganda, Rwanda, all these countries around the Great Lakes and now, because we are constantly fighting these terms, these language barriers, these ethnic groups, and these historical Hollywood pictures that are telling us something different about our people group when our people are dark complexion people, there are Semitic people that lived in that Levant region on the Nile River format with the source of the Nile and the other regions of that area being the Great Lakes. So the Hutu would be representation of one grouping of people of Israel. As you can see, the E1B1A is high. And you see we have other people. So and now we go into the Igbo. The Igbo, everybody, when people are talking about when one rest camps are talking about Hebrew Israelites in West Africa, they always go to the Igbo or the Yoruba people. And I'm like, if you're constantly going to saying that the Igbo people most of the time and the Yoruba people are Israelites, well, do you know and do you realize, not just that, but I like when they even go one better, when they go the city people, we heard the city people, I'm like, that's even better. So when they go Igbo, Yoruba, city, when they mention those groupings of people, I'm like, well, don't you realize that those people groups are actually E1B1A people? These are the Hebrew Israelites that we are associating ourselves with. And if you're doing that, you're at the same time canceling out Native Americans in the Americas, because those people are not the same people as us, especially those groups of people. So, Igbo, let's get into it. So you have A0, B0, or B nothing, E1A nothing, and then you have 89 for E1B1A. And now we go into this group, Awa. I'm bad. It's still a new phone that I'm dealing with, so excuse me if I make mistakes with scrolling. So let's go back to the Awak, or Iraq, and it's pretty much split. So you have some Ishmaelites, Edomites, Midianites, King Membu. Let's see. Split between Ham, B group, and Jeffet, R1B, Kosen. So this right here was a difficult. So talking about super clans and so many classification and identities and everything. So the Hausa grouping of people is one grouping dynamic for people groups that are very different. And then you have the same thing with Berbers, and then you have the same thing with Bantu people, depending on either they are Western or Eastern or Southern. Well, after a while in South Africa, after a while, you come across another grouping of people that are a big group of people, and you get lost in who and what they are. So you have the San people that's supposed to be native African people, that's supposed to be a group, AYDNA. So the San people are also known as Kosan, and Kosan is the language. Once again, this is the language, and the people are called San people. Well, there's other groupings of people that are Bantu-based people that also are a part of this grouping of people that are probably the majority of the people group, because when we go down the Zulu classification, is also intertwined with this people group. The Aksa grouping of people is also a part of this people group. This group right here, the Kong people, are also a part of this people group. Now, this is what I was saying to you about uh, several more of Israel groups of people being a part of a Hamitic group of people, but them being the majority. That would be the case with this Khoisan people, because it's not just these samples right here, but it's dealing with other groupings of people down this chart that are in that South African region that are closely related. This also, you have this Khoi Khoi. You have a lot of groupings of people that are closely related to the Bantu structure. When the Bantu people started to um, overtake the, because once a dominant population take over another people group, there's no mixing. It's not like, okay, you marry our children, we marry your children, and we have a split population. Most of the time, this Bantu group, became the majority of the population. So um, after a while, with some of these groups, you go, why are they not just calling them people Zulu and San people instead of, Asa and Kong, Kokong, and Kikong, and all these other people groups that are closely related to other Bantu people, but they tend to separate each other. And I was like, I think, it's just one of those cultural things, when you relocate, you need, you know, uh, you need other people of the region to show you how to survive. And that's my understanding of, you know, this Bantu expansion, people running away from the different slave trade into other parts of Africa, and restarting a system of trade with the native population. So not all Hamites sold Israel into slavery, and yes, Israel sold other Israelites into slavery, and yes, Edomites sold almost everybody into slavery. And that's how we are starting to look into this DNA information. But let's go back to the cosign. So these are basically what I told you before. These are split. Should still have, when it goes into cosign, should be majority Hamitic people. So we're looking at that, and then go down. Kikuyu, and Kamba. Who are these people? Okay, these are Shemitic people dealing with a majority of Israel and percentages of Edom. Look at that. So you have Hamitic percentages with 2 and 2. Okay, now the Kong people, split group, should have Israel in it. So this is an interesting group. This is representing one of the hardest or rarest haplogroup among our branches to find. So I was looking for information dealing with 2 branch markers that I couldn't find, and I had the information and I kept passing it, and sometimes I probably didn't even understand it, but I found who these people are. So you have split groups of Hamitic people, some Shemitic Israelite people, and some Edomite people, along with Midian. But this was in a research PDF, and I found it, and I go, okay, let me find out more about these people. That's why the purple is like that. And this was an interesting, look into Israel, into the curses, because like a lot of these, when you go into different ethnic groups and you find out that these E1B1A markers are high or even low, and you start to read about certain practices and stuff, and you go, okay, sounds like Israel, sounds like and look like Israel, and it's like from the stories of um, selling related groups of people into slavery because it was a part of a system of trade, that was a part of the system of trade. And then the whole format of how come a lot of these South African countries are, you know stricken with HIV and AIDS, and you find out that some of these people groups are practicing very bad sexual habits at a very young age. So you have young people at a very young age having sex and being put together at a very, very young age. So that's why the whole AIDS epidemic is like that in those parts, because when you start to read about what certain people groups are doing, and you go, okay, well, it sounds like the curses of Israel and other plagues that are plaguing them. So a lot of One West camps tend to go. People on the continent of Africa don't have those signature curses that we do, but they have other parts of the curses, and they have plagues. So let's see. The Lu, we talk about Lu Aldane. So this is and the interesting thing is, so you have this split group, and this name is dealing with Hamitic people, but you have uh, a big percentage of Israelite people, and it's one of those things to where we just have to constantly remember about being scattered, and not just that, but we also had trade alliances with these people. So not just in West Africa, but also when we was in Israel itself. So we shouldn't be shocked to see parts of Hamitic people among our people, you know, um, because we always knew that other people needed our blessings, our skills to survive and to get beyond where they've been. So we have to be mindful of that. And I believe the Lu and the Maasai are the similar people groupings of people, and they should be split too. Like, and the interesting thing about this people group is, these are dark complexion people, and you see how they have Edom. Look at Edom right there. That's E1B1B. These are dark people. We have Malagasy people. So these are your Indian Island, your Indian Ocean groupings of people dealing with certain coastal of Bantu groupings of people on in East Africa and the islands of Madagascar and the Comoros, Comoros, excuse me, the Comoros Islands chain in um, in Africa. So this is an interesting group of people. So um, these would be your people that would look like a dark complexion Asian person. So while you tend to see the San people or the Kosan people or the Angsa people looking like Asian people, well, these are actually, a Japhetic group of people that mix among um, Bantu people and other people groups in those regions. And so now they are dark complexion. So I think this people group is a split between Israel and O for Japhet. And it should be on here on the side. So here you are. Got A0, 8.6 helm on the B, E1A 0, E1B1A 34.3, Edom nothing, E2 8.6, J 5.7, R1B nothing, 0, T nothing, but O. So these are Japhetic Asian people moving into the region and being mixed into the population of those island nations. So you have that going on in Madagascar and Comoros Islands. So if y'all are any Israelite group of people or brothers or sisters that are dealing with fragrances, most of those fragrances are coming from that island chain in the Pacific. I mean, in the Indian Ocean region. And I remember seeing a story on YouTube about the island, and they made the island much closer to India than Africa. And I was like, I don't want to go to India for a trip to visit these different distilleries, and they are places to different plant setups, or fragrances. They have several plants on that island that have basic fumes for a lot of the top selling colognes and perfumes. And I myself been into fragrances for a long time. And I was like, so all this is coming from India, when in reality it's coming from Africa. So that was the interesting thing. But India do have NEMAT, and I'm not sure if anybody know about NEMAT, but NEMAT International, you can buy like bulk fragrances for cheap. And when I used to be into fragrances, I used to buy bulk of NEMAT International fragrances, and they have containers like spray bottles, holders for the fragrances, the package and everything. So if you need it like a business model, it'll easily support that business model with the packaging of the container. They have pouches that you could also pair with the containers, and then they have like big cylinders of the fragrance itself, and they also have musk as well. So that's a neat thing. So the Malagasy people, or people of that region, that would be the split grouping of Japhetic Asian people in Israelites. So this would be your actual mixing of people. So this would be what we consider a actual mix of people, So, and I hope y'all understand what I'm saying when you're mixing people. So when J, R, and T are different complexion type, but they are the same people group, that's technically is not mixing. But when you get a Shemitic group of people and then a Japhetic group of people, and you can obviously see the tell all sign of being mixed, because if you go into the pictures of that people group, you see what I'm talking about. So let's see, Mandika. So this too is another single group of Israel. As you can see, the E1B1A is at 79. And the Mandinka people are in different parts of Africa. You have some in Mauritania, Mali, Gambia, Gabon, and on here it says Guinea-Bissau. So they are really everywhere, and you have clans of other Israelites that are closely nearby to them. They are closely associated with the people group. They are not Mandinka, but they are very similar in relations. So that's a good thing about this information when you look into these detailed branches, and you find out exactly who these groups of people are, and then you go into their history and you start to read about their origin story, who they are, where they come from, how they did, or what they did to survive the slave trade. And that's the detailed information that we all gonna go into eventually and go, wow, I never knew that happened, but it did. And we just gotta become better Israelites from knowing this information. Oh yeah, I wanted to go back up. So the Maasai people. So these people right here. So they are famous for their cape garment. So they have a famous garment that they have with different patterns. But the most famous pattern that everybody know for a fact is from Ghana, and dealing with the Hebrew Israelites in Ghana, is the kente cloth. But how and why would Israelite camps talk about those garments in the Americas, and I'm pretty sure everybody seeing everybody different signature ponchos that they have in the Americas with every native grouping of people having their different design and setup. But those ponchos are not based off of ethnic groupings. They are based off of personal designs. Those the kente cloth is both a personal and a ethnic signature design, and the same thing with the mase um, cloth that they have for their people. So at least out of these groups of people, we know who, when we go into, like, everybody go say Genesis 49, Deuteronomy 33. Well, you realize, Ghana is dealing with some of those prophecies. So we don't have to go, okay, this country, Venezuela and Brazil, they have this, they have that. That's why we call them so and so. Well, Ghana has a better historical point of view of those same prophecies and curses. So all I'm just saying is, we can, use DNA information for Genesis and Deuteronomy and other prophecies and so on. So I'm not just making stuff up about DNA and saying, okay, this is what it should be. We can't do that stuff anymore. No, you do whatever you need to do for your understanding, but there's further understanding and learning that need to go on for us to know. That's what science is, to know. So I'm sorry to get off into that rant, but it's needed, and it's been a while since I made a video, so I think everybody deserve more to hear from me, and from what I have to say, and from my stuttering, and from me saying or doing that a lot. So I think me ranting a little is needed. So now we are in Namibia, and this was another country that I also wanted to travel to, because for some odd reason, I'm a dry climate person, and I lived in Houston most of my life, but I traveled to other places in the US, and I tend to go, I actually like the drier climate. Houston is very humid, and but I like, desert type of weather, so, or climate. So this was one of the places that I was like, if I ever travel or relocate to somewhere, I would want to be in this region for some odd reason. So this one is the Khoi Khoi language, KS Nama. So as you can see, these are Hamitic people. Sorry again. So that's dealing with the other demographic groups of that region, because we already went over the Hararo people. So a lot of these people groups in that South African region, are, in different places, so you still have Hamitic people in the region, but again, this is like still Bantu. A lot of these groupings of people are underneath a bigger Bantu banner, more so than um, Israelites under their banner of a Hamitic group. Nande. I haven't looked into this group of people, and who knows, they might have several Israelite groups among them, or just one. Let's see. Niger, Congo, Nilo Saharan. Let's see. Split. Nubians, Nuba, and Nua. Let's see. I like this because, like, after a while, when you start to get into this Nubian content, you are easily starting to understand that Nubian is dealing with dark complexion people, and most of the time, yes, most of us are dark, but it's dealing with Hamitic groupings of people, Midian. So the irony, so one of Abraham's sons are dark, very dark complexion people, to where you're split grouping these people groups with Hamitic people. So how and why would people continue to think that Ishmael is in the Middle East as a majority group of people dealing with those royal families of Saudi Arabia and Jordan? I don't know. That's their personal problem. But when I look at EUpedia and looked at all those white people with a lot of money and a lot of fame, I was like, well, these people are not Shemitic people. Those are Japhetic people. So I'm just saying, I'm just saying. So yeah, E2. Let's see what I'm doing. Well, let me back up. So we go to Nubians. Let's see if I jumped the gun. I think I jumped the gun because I saw something else. Okay, so Nubians, Slovakia. Nubians. So here we are with A, B, E1A, E1B1A, E1B. So you have Edom. E2 is 0. So this is a even better case. So this is the Nubians. So this is a even better case. So you have Edom and Japhet, R1B, and or J and R1B. So don't forget, remember the limbo groupings of people. There was nothing but J's and R's. So we have to be mindful of these dark complexion Japhetic people. Nuba, as you can see, Hamitic, and then Ishmael, Israel, nothing, Edom. So this is a even better argument towards the content of Edom being very dark to begin with. And then the Nura, you got Hamitic, and then where I'm at, Helm, Edom. Okay. So yeah, these are just better arguments of Edom being dark. Oromo, same thing. Now this was an interesting one. So this one is a R1B group, and Chris Rock is supposed to be from this group, but his paternal line was Hamitic. Chris Rock is a BY person, when this group is a R1B grouping people, and they're from Chad. The Pygmy, these are Hamitic people with other split groupings of people. There's a picture that somebody put together with a graphic of how many, like they put a male picture of different warriors from different ethnic groups or tribes, and they put percentages or color bars representing the percentages of what haplogroup is representing the tribe. And the Pygmy people are a split group. You know, the Bantu expansion is a thing that really made a lot of Hamitic groups of people, you know, basically survive. I don't even like the pairing of Semitic people and Hamitic people was probably a need more so for Hamitic people than the Bantu people, because eventually the Bantu people would have just kept moving around the whole continent of Africa until they found their fit. But a lot of these Hamitic groups of people, their days of being nomads was over. They did it earlier and often, and then once they got the curses from the Mosai put on them, they were set. They were set in those territories to where whenever a Shemitic group came down, it was a survival of the fittest, and this is what we are looking at. So, yeah. A5B53, E1A nothing 28.3, E1B1A, and then you have R1B 3.3. Let's see. Sao Tome and Principe. And they say A 1.3, B 0, E1A 0, E1B1A 84, and then R1B 8.7. And you have this being Indo-European, but you have a E1B1A high percentage. These are Indo-Europeans. Keep that in mind. Send away. Let's see, split. Singalese. Should be E1B1A. Yeah. Shilluk. This should just be Hermetic groupings of people. So you have him, you have Edom. So this is just showing you more proof for Edom being dark as well. Shua Arabs. So this will be R1B. Look at that. Keep that in mind. And you have Arabic and Afro-Asiatic. Keep that in mind. Somalis. These are definitely not Cushitic people. These are mostly dealing with E1B1B groupings of Edomites. So, as you can see, you got A 0.5, B 1.0, E1A 0, E1B1A 1.5, E1B1B 76 or 77.6, and then you have E2 0.5, R1 or J 3.0, R1B 0, and T 10.4. And now, remember what I said about the Indo-European. So now we are at South African whites. So this is a interesting group of people because we all know some of our people tends to go, okay, all white people are Edomites. So we know for a fact that Edom is a closely related group of people to us. We are E1B1A. We know for a fact that E1B1B people groups are closely related to us, but they are not us. But we also know that there are famous pale complexion people, and there's other groupings of pale complexion Edomite groups. There are in Europe. There are Edomites, but they are not Caucasian or Japhites. So the question is, are these South African whites, are they Edomites or Japhites? And not just that, but I've done videos on this before and nothing changed. You know, I know people go on Wikipedia. Everybody's argument is Wikipedia is always subject to editing and changes. Okay, well, yes, that's the case, and everybody uses it for information. So let's look at this information and question that thought. So we have South African whites, Indo-European. Remember, the last Indo-European grouping was Israelites. So these are whites. They literally put South African whites. So we go here, and as you can see, you have, oh, look at this. You have a percentage of, um, let's see, A, B, E1A, E1B1A, E1B1B. So you have 9.6 of Edom among those people. E2 is 0. And then you have J 3.8. You have R1B. Remember, R1B, these are whites. Remember Chad and the this other group that Chris Rock supposed to be a part of. This is R1B. These are dark people. And we scroll down to South African whites. And you see R1B 51.6. And then you have others. And they don't tell you what others is. And not just that, but they don't even give you the scientific report. So hopefully I could Google the Y-DNA study to this and find out who was the person that did the research on this. But I could imagine is like R1B and R1A this is dealing with. Because the other grouping of closely related West European people are R1A, and those would be your majority, other white or pale complexion European types, Central to Eastern European people. So I forgot they don't have a professor or a geoscientist that was referenced in this study. Sudan Arabs, basically these would be Berbers. But I was wrong because it goes Semitic, Afro-Asiatic, but the only representation of that is, you got Edom at 16.7. You got Midian at 0. And then you have J or Japhet 47.1, R1B Japhet 15.7. So some of this I remember, some of them I don't like. And this goes again with those languages and other titles and terms. Just because they go Shemitic and go Afro-Asiatic don't mean these are actually the right people, South Sudan, Neolithic. You got Ham, Edom, more Ham and Edom. You have Tuareg, from Burkina Faso. So this is where it becomes interesting because I don't remember this one. And like I said, you have Israelites in Burkina Faso, but you have a ethnic grouping of people that are associated in that I want to call in that region, that's the Sahel region. So let's see what we get. You have Berbers and Asiatic, and you have Burkina Faso. Let's see who's here. So E1B1A is 16.7. E1B1B is 77.8. So you see Edom. Should be more Edom on this one too. These are your Berber groups. The Tuareg is another super clan. So you do have percentages of Israelites that are among this people group. Maybe not the Berbers, but the Tuareg, massive groupings of people, because there was people that send me comments about them being identifying as Berbers, and that they have Hebrew Israelite DNA signature markers and stuff. So our people, like we just saw here, are within these groups of people. So we just have to have a proper understanding, of all these people groups and complexion types. So, then we could go, okay, you say who you are, we know this information. Now we could try your spirit. Now we can get into your background. That how we could use this information. Because there's nothing wrong with using the spirit to see if people are, really concerned about who they are and know exactly where they fit into Bible prophecies and the curses and everything. So now we are the Tutsis. So this is another Israelite group that represent one group of Israel. And look at this. So, but again, this is in that Great Lake region, and some Israelites consider these people not to be Israel. So I had a rant. So my rant, and I forgot, I went into somebody musical band with people being from one tribe to another tribe, and I really wanted, so this Israelite camp leader said something about Uganda, Rwanda being, Hamitic territories, when I recall them doing a camp at a site of a brother in California shooting, and I was like, well, why are Israelites? I questioned them on the comment board, and I was like, how come y'all doing like a demonstration or a camp on the site of a Hamitic person shooting when he's not our people? And I was like, this guy is a Ugandan national. In the U.S., he got shot, and y'all was, doing a camp for him. And I was like, how's that possible? Do y'all know something that I don't know? And I was like, what's going on here? And I kept that in mind. I was like, but they teach that, there's no Israelites. Well, there's scattered Israelites, but they said that there's no Israelites and a majority content in these regions when this territory is our home format. We are from this region. We are, children of the Great Lakes, the Nile, the Valley, and the Levant. This is our home. That's the future of where we're gonna live. That's our territory. So I always, question that video, and then recently when I saw them do a class, I was like questioning. I was like, well, now that I know that our people are from that area, and I remember y'all doing a camp on site for a Ugandan citizen that was killed here that wasn't an Israelite, and now all of a sudden our people are not in the area. I'm like, something don't make sense, and so this is why it's good to know about Africa, and people go, well, is Azareth in Africa? Is this? Can you tell me what is this? Who are these people? What is like? All we need to know is who people are. That all we need to know. We don't have to worry about the content of Azareth and so on, because when you look at the DNA information and you go into the E1B1A branches, and the branches lines up with the different tribes of Israel, and then you find out E1A is Ishmael, E1B1B is Edom. What more do you need to know? You already know Japhet is G through T, and so on. So this is the information that we should build on. And now Wolof. So this is a split group. Ishmael, other people, Israel should be here. Edom, it should be split. A lot of Shemitic groups of people. Yeah. So as you see, Ishmael, Israel, Edom, Midian, that's your whole Shemitic grouping of Abrahamic people. Now, my favorite group of people that Israelite camps like to reference as being Israelites. This is my group of people, my ethnic. When I did my DNA test and they gave me my results, they go, this group is your people, this is your percentage, this is your paternal grouping, this is your maternal grouping, this is your maternal so-and-so, this is your paternal so-and-so. And let's see what these are, And like we knew before, it's E1B1A. And then you have like a small percentage of R1B. So, and this group, we have a majority of one Israelite group, but we do have another Israelite group associated with us. So if I'm not, mistaken, I think there's another group associated with us. So, but yeah, I'm from the Gadite tribe. So, and then Aksa and Zulu. So normally when you see these two, these are a part of the Khoisan grouping, the Sem grouping of people in South Africa. They have like a super clan of people, and I believe some of these groups have kings, and as you can see, it's split groupings. So there's a lot of different Israelite groups among this group, but mostly Joseph. So and let's see, Joseph and a few other groups. So and we are done with this. That was interesting and entertaining. Um, let's see what else. So this was my notepad information on the Awak people, on the groupings of people, on the 12 tribe chart of the Americas. So I was like, why don't I put together a root chart, just a overall chart of who's who from where and so on, and let everybody get a proper understanding of what I'm talking about. So you have E1B1A groupings of people that are Shemitic Israelite people versus Shemitic Moabites, who are C groupings of people. You have Japhetic people, who are Q DNA people, and R1B DNA people. So on this, I just went through all that content. So let me see if I can enlarge it real quick. Or maybe this is as large as I can go. So at the top, like the 12 tribe chart start with, I went with Judah. I broke down, Judah, USA, and Brazil. I then said African Americans, Nigerians, or African Americans. And then I go Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, Mini Togo, Angola, Guinea-Bissau. And then I go E1B1A. So the E1B1A groupings of those people would be Hebrew Israelites. The other part of those people that are USA and Canada, known as Black Americans, that are, Native Americans, Lakota, Pawnee, Wichita, Kasai, Kakara, Blackfoot, Freemans, Iroquois, Chippewa, all those people, Choctaw, all those people would be either Q or R1, YDNA. And at the time, I put a notation. Scientists should have made endless branches of subclades for the Caucasian people, and they should have explained that this is a dark race of people with albinism. I went into more details about that. And then next, Benjamin. And I did the same thing, with Benjamin, with the E1B1A, con- content or contexts, and then the other people. Same thing with Levi. So, um, and so on. So I'm gonna slowly scroll down this page so everybody can look and see what I'm talking about. And note when I'm talking about Bantu groups or West African groups of people, I make sure that I'm saying E1B1A. I'm not saying everybody because also from the same, like I could have easily put E1B1B and other haplogroups in here to reference other populations, but most of the time it's dealing with the context that we are dealing with are these majorities of our walk. So Edomites, like when most of the time when people are looking at Mexico, so Mexico has dark complexion people there. They have also a good amount of dark complexion people that would be considered Edom there. So in some of those pictures of dark complexion people that we see, some of those are most likely to be Edomites rather than dark complexion Japhites or um, Moabites or our people. They would be Edomites. So um, they're among a certain part of the population, but I was like, I don't want to, get involved with that confusion yet. I just want to make sure people know that a majority of the people that we are talking about on those charts are dealing with Japhetic people versus percentages of our people being a remnant. So we got to remember we are scattered, you know, among all these people. So um, we could be here in great numbers as well, but we also have even greater numbers in Africa. Like many people don't know, like Yoruba, my people group, um, due to their diet, the women of our people group could produce so many groupings of twins. So we are known for having twins in our tribe. So the Igbo and the Yoruba people and other closely related people groups in that region are populating that area so fast at a rate to where Africa is going to be a highly populated country or continent more so than Asia is, because Asia is experiencing a population collapse, and that's because of their diets and because of homosexuality and other um, vaccinations programs that they are dealing with containing their population. The irony is a lot of African countries deal with the same problems because the lottery program for you to get a visa, you got to be vaccinated. So um, a lot of African groups of people tend to have the same problem. So I'm just scrolling. Let me scroll back up. I'm sorry about that. And now I'll scroll back down slowly. So Like at the end, I put, um, let's see, did I even mention? Yeah, so we know that Dan is the Mandinka people, and this is dealing with their haplogroup. So when you go to the E1B1A haplogroup in the branches and you start to understand who's who, we get Dan being, this marker. That's the branch marker, and then there's a defining mutation of this marker, and I don't remember it off the top of my head, but that's the shorthand right of what Dan would be. And that's a good thing about DNA, because now we know who and where Dan is. So, with that being the case in the video, I want to say once again, all praise to the Most High Yahweh and to His Son, my brother, Amashiach Yahushai. And once again, I want to say thank you to my brothers and sisters from the Israelite tribes for the comments and for the views. And like always, as soon as I, get a certain amount of understanding or feel like I need to get into a topic, I will make a video. But yeah, it's those things to where it has to be meaningful content. I just can't, come on here and start making up stuff. I just want people to get a better understanding of what we all should know by now. It took, like, I was watching the Ephraimite brother DNA videos on YouTube a while back, and like I didn't understand the videos, but I kept watching them over and over, and I went away from that content into other content. Like a big thing that our people like to get into is phenotype. I went into phenotype and physical traits, and I was like, well, it looks like there's two different groups of white people, and how and why I'm not understanding this information, and where are these people? Are they all in Europe and so on? And I needed more information, and then slowly there was information coming out about E1B1A. Slowly there was information coming out about the limba and other information, and I was slowly patching and connecting the dots on information, and I was like, wait a minute, a lot of people have an agenda when they are teaching us certain things, and the Ephraimite brother, he had an agenda. I knew it when I saw the video. I was like, he's not making any more videos. And yes, he has a Facebook page, but at that time he wasn't making any more videos. And then he made another video, and he went into his agenda. I was like, I sort of knew he had a hidden agenda behind it. And the only thing that I have for my point of view, is me finding my brothers and sisters. That's the only agenda that I have, and if I can help other people that see this understand what they're looking at when they are looking at their DNA, so be it. Good. But other than that, I'm just here mostly for my people and other people. It doesn't hurt for y'all to understand what we are looking at. So this way we could wipe that whole nonsense of we was Canes out the way, and um, we can move on to more educated information. So yeah, continue to comment and view the videos, and as always, I will try my best to make another video as soon as possible. But once again, thank y'all and peace.